I guess you probably know more about 9 than I do because you went through it so thoroughly. I loved your
Yeah,
video. That was awesome.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it is kind of fresh to mind. The only thing is I don't really know much about the other types, like the types that I didn't look into. It's like, I went through like,
Yeah.
especially like types 1, 2, 3, and 4. I just kind of immediately dismissed because like, okay, I'm not any of those. Uh, the rest of them, I mean, I've tested as 6, I tested as 5, I tested as 7 once, I think. Um, but yeah, when I read those, I was like, okay, definitely not those. So yeah, once I dismissed, well, I don't know, because I dismissed 9 the first time I heard about it, but then I didn't actually test as 9 until like sometime earlier this year. Um,
Yeah, I didn't. I'm like, no, that looks too. I mean, yeah, sure. I like peace. Doesn't everybody? I'm an NF, but like, not at all costs. That seems kind of extreme.
yeah,
And then the rest of it's really flowery, because I think it's kind of like the INFP
yeah,
description in a way. It's like hard to tell if you're one because I feel so bad for INFPs because it's the same thing. Actually, I read it. One of my coworkers, I talked about MBTI finally to him. He took the test. He got ENFP, but I kind of think he's an INFP. So same thing. I said like, oh, check out the description, and their description looks so much better now. So
mm,
anyway, hopefully they'll do that with 9 as well.
yeah. Because one of the 9, I forgot which website it was, but it talked about like being one with the cosmos and stuff. And like, what in the world?
For most people, you're like, and even I was like, yeah, but how does this relate to what my motivation is? My motivation is to be one with the cosmos. I mean, I don't.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and I think even to this day, I think people probably still think I come across as a 5, or or their impression of what a 5 looks like. Um, like I said in my video, it's just basically just me being a TI Dom and having the same, similar traits.
I do, I do too, or sort of in a sense. One dude looked me up that I worked with like 15 years ago, not too long ago, and I mentioned MBTI, and he's like, oh yeah, I think I heard of that, and he's like, I said, yeah, I'm an INFJ, and he goes, wait, that's a feeler? He goes, there's no way you're a feeler, and I was like, yeah. He goes, she's like, you're one of the most logical people I know. Like, I'm like, yeah, it's a stereotype. It's just, whatever. But
Mm.
yeah, sometimes it'd be nice if they changed the words because we're like, well, especially guys when they see the word feeler, I think
Oh,
who wouldn't want to be logical or whatever it is.
yeah.
But then you see the word T when it says can come across cold. I'm like, okay, I don't want to be that. And I'm like, uh, more like fair rather than cold. But
Yeah. Yeah. See, guys will read that and go, "Oh, yeah, that's me. I've been accused of that."
it's true. I can't think of anything else right now unless you can.
Yeah. Well, yeah. About let's see. Going back to Enneagram 9. Um. Well, the thing that struck me about 9 when I first looked at it was that it just seemed really NF to me. And so like it actually wouldn't surprise me to see a lot of INFJs being type 9s. Um,
Yeah, and that's so strange. I haven't met many. I've met a couple, like 4 or 5 of us, but and 9's supposedly the most common Enneagram type. So,
oh,
or
it
one of
is.
the most common ones. I was like, yeah, I forget where I heard that. I heard that from somebody, so that could be inaccurate, but somebody was like, who knew a lot about Enneagram more than I did.
Hmm.
I don't remember.
Have you been like have you joined like many 9 forums?
Just one, and I read a few things, but I didn't really catch up or connect with it because
Okay.
I don't know why. Just in a bunch of groups.
Okay. Yeah, because I joined the Enneagram 9 Facebook group, like when I was trying to figure out if I was a 9. And yeah, those are the people who thought I came across as a 5. And
Oh,
even now,
interesting.
like when I read some of their posts, I'm like, I don't relate to this at all. Or like, this, or they'll post like some inspirational messages, and I go, that doesn't really resonate with me. So I think, so I wonder like what their instincts are. If they're like SX or SO9s, because like,
I would think so, because one of the nines I know is SX, SO, and one is SPSO. Yeah, so maybe if the SPSX is, maybe it is a more less common instinctual variant. I know an INFP who's a SPSX. So, and he's in technology too, which I find interesting. So I was like, I wonder if we are like the hybrid, if you're
yeah,
NFSPSX, in a sense.
yeah, because like it was when I looked at the description of self-preservation 9s, I was like, oh yeah, that totally sounds like me.
Yeah, me too, me too. I remember when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's like crazy accurate. That's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
But I think the same thing with the 9 forum. That's kind of why I just was like, I haven't really gone, because I don't remember really relating to it either. So I wonder what's up with that. I don't know, or maybe you're right because of the different variants.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, my theory is that, since a lot of the 9 descriptions are just kind of wacky and woogly and stuff, it's like the people that are going to identify with 9s are those who will relate to those descriptions. And so
That's
they're the
true.
ones you'll find in those groups. It's kind of like the ISTP group for me. Like, if there's so many really bad ISTP descriptions, well, somebody's going to relate to those. So they're the ones who are going to identify as ISTP. They're going to join the group, and they fit the stereotypes.
Yeah, and I think it's a matter of when mistypes too, when you want to be something versus what you are. So because I was like, when I first read all the description, I first typed as INFJ, and I immediately was like, no, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. I don't like that. I don't like that. Because I guess it's because you have to be like okay with who you are. Because I was like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and then I was like, this is dumb. I was trying to force myself to be an extrovert. I'm an extrovert. I'm totally an extrovert. Come on. And my friend who's INTJ, I was mentioning to him, I knew him years ago, and I sent him an email and I said, see, I'm into MBTI. What type is yours? I kind of wonder now. And I said, mine is ENFJ. And he goes, no, that's not what you tested as originally. And he linked me to my old blog post, and I'm like, you jerk. Don't throw data in my face. I was like, I said, well, it could be off. It could be off. And he was like, well, I liked you better as an INFJ. Wow. He put a little wink, and I was like, oh, geez. But then later, yes, a practitioner helped me, and I was like, oh. And then I went to MBTI certification class, going, okay, yes, I'm probably an INFJ. I asked her, and she's a master practitioner, and she goes, yes. And the one guy was laughing at me later at class. He goes, how could you have, he goes, and I go, what is INFP? And I said, what? And he goes, how could you ever have thought you were an extrovert? Look at you. You're just sitting here all quiet, just watching everybody. Like, yes, okay, I feel stupid. But yeah, so I think you're right about somebody reads the descriptions and they're like, ooh, but versus what you would like to be. So
Yeah, well, yeah, it's just like me and being a J, because I've always wanted to think of myself as like on top of things and organized, and like I know exactly where I'm going, because like those are kind of like the values that I've kind of taken on like through it's not even just my parents, it's like just every environment that I've been in, like peers, teachers, employers, they all kind of like stress those values of like having a plan and sticking to it, and yeah, and like
I can go with statistics again. There's more judgers in the world than perceivers, so that's why. You poor
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. And like, especially like looking at what is it? Well, just looking at the ISTP descriptions, I mean, not just the stereotypes, but just about talking about just being in the moment and enjoying life. And I was like, well, that sounds really irresponsible and childish. But then, if you look at the way I do live my life, I was like, well, yep, that's what I do. I just, I've always thought of myself as like not as responsible as I wanted to be, and like kind of sort of failing at life in certain ways. And I was like, no, it's just me being an ISTP.
Well, there's all these. It's funny because you say that because there's all these yoga and Zen things. When I read them, and that's their main point. Their main thing is, I'm like, okay, be in the moment, live in the present. And so it's funny. I'm thinking, well, they must be talking to Jays, because now I have to, like, back in 2012, this lady did an esoteric conference about putting the temperaments with the elements. Like, what did she do? She did like all the different temperaments. Well, anyway, so she did SPs as fire, by the way, which I thought was cool, and NTs as air, and NFs is water, because water is usually emotion, and SJs is earth, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like, they're earthy, that makes sense. But she had said your last letter is your nemesis, so you try to be the whatever, so that'll bring yourself more in balance. So I was like, okay, I'll try to be more perceiver like. So I was driving back to the hotel after this because I was at a conference, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go with the flow. Maybe I should just drive forever. And I'm like, that's weird. Just like, but then what am I gonna do? I don't know. And I was going, yeah, I can see how this really is a challenge. So it's kind of funny when people seem like, you seem like you're so in your SE and in the moment. I said, that's because I practice every day. I'm like, okay, stop thinking about the future. Anxiety helps to think about the moment. But
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, it's like, it was more like something. Yeah. Yeah. It was like, I kind of learned to embrace that, embrace my penis. I had to throw that out there.
You guys are so lucky you get to say that. Janus just doesn't sound cool, Janus. Penis.
Yeah.
So jealous.
But yeah. Once I started, living on my own, and doing these random road trips, and not planning for them like I was taught to do, I was like, yeah, I can actually do this and not be stressed out about it. It's like, like, oh wow, don't have to know where I'm going to spend the night tonight. Like, oh wow, this is fun. It's an adventure. It's like, okay, yeah, and then afterwards, like, yeah, that was fun. I should do it like that all the time. And so
that's awesome. Yeah, I did that a couple of times, and I thought the same thing. I was like, okay, I'm going to think of, but I had actually trained my mind. I'm like, I'm going to think of this as an adventure. I was like, yeah, but where are I going to sleep? And I'm like, there's a bajillion hotels, self. I mean, I'm like, yeah, but what if they're full? I'm like, there's no way they're going to be full. I have to like tell every little thing, like, no, it'll be fine. No, it'll be fine. And then I can enjoy it. But it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, see, my mom would just think it's absolutely crazy to think like the P way, to not reserve a hotel, because like she just assumes the worst. Like, what if it's all being full? What if we're only stuck with like some crappy motel, and what if there's bugs in the bed, and what if there's rats, and so like, yeah, she just would not even entertain the thought of of like just going with the flow. She has to have everything planned out.
Wow.
So
my
yeah,
mom would more say, "Oh, you could save so much more money if you do it in advance."
Yeah. So, but yeah, planning stuff now actually stresses me out, because it's like, it's like stuff that I normally would not want to have to think about until I'm actually there. And so it's like I'm thinking about all these things that I'm going to do and not getting to do them yet. And it's like, well, what if I decide I don't want to do that? Am I locked into this plan? Like, it's like reserving a motel, reserving like plane tickets. If I decide I want to do like, fly in on a different day, then it's like, well, what's it going to take to, to change that flight? And like, yeah, so that's like when I was, planning my Hawaii trip last year. It's like I knew that, these types of hotels had to be reserved in advance, otherwise they'd fill up, or I had to pay like 3 times as much or whatever. And so it was stressing me out because I was like this trip that was like months away, and like I didn't even know like what's going to happen between now and then. So it's like
It's life too. I think sometimes when you have things, even on the end of the spectrum, I'll have things planned and think it's solid, and then something will happen, and it's just, I'm like, great, well, I didn't see that coming. That sucks. I would venture to guess, like, well, I mean, obviously from type that it shakes us a little harder, but I also like planning in a way because then for me, I get to look forward because I'm like, ooh, today, and I get to, it's going to be so awesome. And then what else could I do? I could do whatever. So I guess that's where we find security and then joy in it.
Well, yeah, but I don't really think of that as planning. It's more like just having the idea in my head. Like, I'm looking forward to like going back to Hawaii because like they've already planned it. This event in 2017. They have the date set and everything. So I'm like, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I haven't actually solidified my own plans to go there yet, but it's like I know that's there, and like if I end up going there, I know I'm gonna really enjoy it. But I'm not like setting it on my own calendar or anything, or making or committing to it. I was like, yeah, I'm just looking forward to that.
Well, that's true. Maybe there's part of a human thing. You look forward to things, but I just mean if I have it nailed down, then it makes me feel more comfortable looking forward to it because I'm like, okay, so this is really going to happen. Even though life happened, as I've learned as I've gotten older, that's not always the case. You could have like a 5-year plan, and then you go like, I don't know, a plane could crash into your house, or well, it's kind of morbid, but or something.
Or something worse. You could get married.
I said at work one time, I'm like, I'm going to make sure to document this so you guys will know, because in case I ever get hit by a bus. And my INTJ boss was like, wait, what? That's really morbid, Anne. I was like, I never thought of that. That's morbid. I'm like, I'm just being realistic, Yeah. She goes, or you could win the lottery. I said, that's a lot better. How about that? Yeah, or you could win the lottery. That's a much better way to think of it.
Yeah. I will say this. The thought of a plane crashing on my house is less scary than getting married. I can deal with a plane crashing on my house.
You're like, that I can fix or whatever.
Yeah. I just look for a new place to live. I'll have to buy more stuff, but I know how to deal with that. Marriage is like a big mystery to me. I don't know how to handle that.
I mean, you usually like someone and you'd be like, oh, crap, what now? I guess they have classes and books and whatever. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Apparently they work for people.
Yeah.
They didn't work for me, but apparently they work for some people.
I think it's mostly SJs teaching those classes.
I never thought of that. That's really interesting. Yeah. Oh, that is interesting. Because
just a guess, though.
Yeah, because my mom is like that. I've noticed where her confidence level is like a class in something. Like it has to be a class with a teacher. And I'm like, but you could just kind of read something and learn it on your own. And she'll do that. But she's like, yeah, and I know it, but I would just feel more comfortable with the class. And I don't know. Is your mom the same way where she has to have a class? Or
kind of.
Oh.
Yeah, she suddenly got like way more confident about using a computer after she took a class on it.
Mhm. Yeah, the same with my mom. Ooh, my phone is ringing, so hopefully it's no sun emergency. But we should do this again because this is
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. Interesting discussion.
Thank you.